that was easy.
AP Art History, how we doing, folks? Okay, today I got 3 images for you guys, and let's go ahead and get started. Before we do that, though, wanted to give you another look at this twisted perspective. You saw the caves of Lascaux. We have an Egyptian painting at the bottom, and the Stele of Naram Sim. All of them showing twisted perspective where you see a frontal and a side view. Boy, I'm beating this one to death, aren't I? Okay, here are our 3 images. Anthropomorphic Stele from the Arabian Peninsula, Bushel with Ibex Motifs out of Susa, Iran, and then the Jade Cong out of Langzhou, China. Now, one of the things that we're doing when we do global prehistory is we bounce around all over the world, all right? As we progress through the course, we'll start focusing on certain areas, such as ancient Greece. Everything will be located within that area that was known as ancient Greece or ancient Rome. But for now, we kind of move around a little bit. Okay, so that explains that. All right, now review: Neolithic period of Stone Age associated with agricultural revolution. It followed the Paleolithic period, and it's a time when people settled into the communities. Now, one of the images that we're going to look at is going to be at the very tail end of the Neolithic period, and it's right before we start getting into ancient Mesopotamia and these things called city-states. Same thing happened in Egypt, same thing happened in China. And the weird thing is this happened all around the world at the same time, okay? And there is a video that I want you guys to watch that it's on the Jade that is near the end, and they do an excellent job of explaining that. Here's one of our key images, and it's a Bushel with Ibex motif out of Susa, Iran. The reason why I have Lascaux up there is because of the abstractions. They're just awesome. I mean, you take a look at the, what do we have right here? Think about that. Some of you that have worked in abstraction before, what a really cool image here. Of a goat. And what do we have up here? One of the things that you got to think about when you see these images, know where they're from. And if you know where they're from, you might be able to determine what these animals are. Okay, we're going to get to them in just a minute. All right, and here you go. There is a video on this. Again, it is in your, I'm not going to go over it too much because they do a pretty nice job on the video. And it is on the Khan Academy, okay? But anyway, note the date, 4200, 3500 BCE, again, towards the tail end of the Neolithic period, okay? And it's painted terracotta. And in this case, the terracotta is kind of a brownish. A lot of terracotta is red. This has a little bit of a brownish tint to it. One thing that I want you to notice here, too, you have something going on up here. You have something going on here. And you have something going on here. These are called registers, and we will use that term for a number of the art and artifacts that we have throughout this course. They're called registers, and they're basically horizontal bands, and in some cases they tell stories, in other cases it's just imagery. Okay, let's go and take a look at what some of this imagery is. First of all, you need to consider where this is. This is in the area of Susa, and during this time, I will see if I have I don't have a map, but during this time, the Arabian Peninsula, you're talking about an area that would have had a lot of water. In the case of this area, it would have been some rivers. And people of this time, when they were getting ready to break out of the Neolithic period, it all came from areas that had water and rivers, such as ancient Egypt, such as the Fertile Crescent in ancient Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley in India, the Jiangsu area, and the Yangtze River in China. These places started to break out. They started to figure out ways to irrigate. Then they started to be able to produce more food, which when you produce more food, you can get a larger population, and then people started to develop writing. So you see how things are moving forward. Again, that video that is in the Khan Academy is really good at explaining it, so just make sure that you check that out. But anyway, they believe this may have been turned on a wheel, a very slow running wheel, or hand-built. I'm not really sure. More than likely, some sort of a funerary vessel. And to get back to where this would have been located, since you're talking about an area that is mountainous and also has rivers, in this area here, right here, you have an abstraction of a mountain goat. Look at the horns. I mean, it's just, for those of you who have dealt with abstraction before, it's not, sometimes people look at it and they don't understand the degree of difficulty there is in creating abstraction. Those of you that have had sculpture with me in the past, or even some other courses where we have dealt with abstraction, it's not an easy concept to do. Here we have what's called, these are dogs, and they would have been similar to the Greyhound or Salukis. And up in here, I would like you, boy, I wish you guys were here so you could take a guess. But if you're thinking about an area like I said, where there's lots of water and rivers, like southern Maryland, what do you think those might be? They're possibly waterfowl. Think about the herons and the egrets we have in this area. They look very similar to that. And again, there's that abstraction. This would have been hand painted, and there is quite a bit of detail in these objects. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and move along. I would like you guys to check out that video. I've just hit some of the very, very basics of it. The video is pretty good. Make sure that you read on it, because I want to move on to the next one. I've taken about 4 or 5 minutes here on this one. Okay? Of course, it does have, one thing I did neglect is representational of the world. A frieze is also, you'll see a frieze when we get into Greek architecture, and it's basically a large band. Okay? Now, here's one here, Anthropomorphic Stele, from the Arabian Peninsula. It's anthropomorphic, described or thought to as have human form. Think about this area and just take a look at this for a little bit and think about what some of these images that we have here may be. And I'm talking about this right in here. But while you're thinking about that, I have a term for you, a term that we'll use time and time again, which is called a stele. Again, might be in February and we'll be using this term. So you want to become familiar with it. A stele is an upright stone or slab or pillar bearing an inscription or a design, serving as some sort of a monument, marker, or the like. A lot of people will say a grave stele. That's a common use, but it is not the only use of a stele. Okay? Here are some examples of steles. This, for those world history people that are out there, do you know the Code of Hammurabi? This is called the Stele of Hammurabi, and his code is right there. Eye for an eye. Grave stele of Hagesso, this is Greek. This is from ancient Mesopotamia. This is the stele of Naram Sin, and this is from South America in the Peruvian highlands. This is a Lanzon stele, and it is really cool, and we'll get into that when we get into that unit. Okay, and there you go. There's your stele. It's approximately 3 feet high. Now, here's some of the imagery. Both sides are sculpted, but you're looking at the front, face, and the chest and the waist. Trapezoidal head resting on squared shoulders around the neck. We're looking at probably a necklace. And 2 diagonal cords crisscrossing the body with an awl. And an awl is a small pointed tool that could be used as a dagger, it could be used as an etching tool. And at the bottom, we believe this could be a sword. Okay? Again, let me see if I hit or missed anything. This is the area that we're talking about right here. You want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Now, this could be used as dedication, commemoration, or demarcation. What that basically means is that you're taking off from somewhere. Grave marker in an open-air sanctuary. But the area this was found, they believe, was a grave site. Okay? All right, and this is the next one, and I am slowly running out of time here, so I am going to really let the video take over this one, but before I do, I just want to hit some of the key points, and you'll hear those key points in the video. Probably about 5 minutes of the video goes over the Neolithic Revolution and what was happening there, the development of city-states around rivers and the irrigation systems that made these societies so really grow and thrive. I can tell you this, as we go through this course, one thing that really makes different cultures and societies thrive is water. Yes, water. Think about Rome. Rome, with the aqueducts, they brought water into the city. So wherever you had thriving cultures, civilizations, they all had water. You need water to thrive. Okay, we kind of take it for granted now because it's in bottles and we just find it everywhere. But to ancient civilizations, it was harder to come by. If you wanted to expand a civilization, you needed to be able to irrigate, to grow mass quantities of food, and to control that water as well. Okay. All right. Now, just a couple of things about this. It is made out of jade, and this type of jade is very, very hard. Okay, and it isn't like when you're dealing with material that you're sculpting with, you usually need to. This is before iron and steel. You would need to carve it with a substance that's harder. So if you have something like sandstone, which is pretty soft, it's easily carved with something like a basalt, or perhaps even a jade you could carve with. But something that is really, really hard like jade, there's not very many substances that are harder than that. So a lot of this carving was done with sand, because sand is a hard substance, and it would, as far as the technique, I wish I could show you, but I'm not exactly sure how they would have done it. But these zhongs were, they have a cylindrical look to them, but they're also square. And they range from anywhere from 6 inches to 3 feet, okay? And sometimes they're stacked. Along the corners here, you have abstractions of what appears to be some sort of imagery of a face, or some sort of anthropomorphic face. But anyway, to recognize them, they are squarish corners, round hole in the center. They also had these things called the bai, or the bi, that were these large discs. In some cases, they were small discs. You can actually buy these online. Usually made out of jade, and they were round, and they had a hole in the middle. People now wear them around their neck, but they're also used at times for, some people say they put them under their pillow for good luck. But those were bai discs, and they're similar but different than what you have here. Okay, I think I covered just some of the key points. Again, the video is really good at explaining about the Neolithic Revolution, these jade objects, how rivers and the controlling of the waters made these civilizations thrive. So check that out, okay? All right, that's it for today, guys. Y'all have a good day.